So next wrenching video. I hinted about it in the previous video about replacing a couple of hoses that look really bad. I haven't confirmed any leaks from them, but as a precaution, and I'm wrapping more of that protection on top of them because they are a little bit exposed and probably moves a bit. And with, like most things, they have tightened things up a bit too much. If you ask me, it feels like have been afraid, or maybe they have seen something leaking and just tightened it harder. So first hose was removed. I also had one hose here in the middle, a smaller one that I hurt my fingers or hands on while trying to replace the cover for that electric cable. And that one I have no confirmed leak on either, but once you start having the metal cord inside it sticking out and poking you, you want to start replacing them as a precaution, if you ask me. So first two hoses came undone quite easily, but I knew that last one, that's pretty much as deep as you can get in here, would cause a little bit of issues. So that was taken into account, and I started undoing hoses that are in the way of having access, and I knew I had to. There are some spacers here or adapters, and turned out that my deep socket is not deep enough, so that made it a little tricky. So I had to start looking at options, and there wasn't clearance enough to get the ring end of the spanner on there without starting to removing some electrical connectors on here. There is a clip you have to undo at the end, and it was a little tricky getting there, but eventually was able to remove two of these connectors that gave me clearance to undo things without damaging anything. So with that out of the way, it was just a matter of removing them. Most of the things here have those washers with rubber in them, 3.0, so all of them, yes, I take them apart. They are not that expensive, and would hate to start going in here because of a leaking sealing washer. So as a precaution, they are all replaced. I'm afraid I will be here finding oil leaks in the future anyway. And that hose goes up here. It has to do with the lift cylinder of the arm. And this is like a T connection up here that goes through the accumulator, the gas filled accumulator, the round thing you see up here. So with that undone, I had an adapter, or so you can join two hoses together. It's nice to have a couple of those laying around, so when you replace one, you can just connect them together and use the old one to pull the new one in place. So that was done, went smoothly, and I had made this one a tiny bit longer, hoping it would be possible to angle it down a little and have a better line of sight to the sight glass for the swing motor. Turned out that the next hose was too short, so I couldn't really adjust it that much, but the extra length made it possible to have them kind of side by side and give it little better access to seeing the sight glass back here. So I could start putting hoses back together. All went quite well with this section according to plan. So I had to undo 3 extra hoses to get to that one I wanted to replace, but that's what's happened when they make things very tight and compact. The 2 extensions for the hoses further back went back into place. They could be tightened back into place. But then I ran into issues trying to get the big hoses feeding the parallel cylinder, the big yellow one at the top, because this one had to be, and I had to use pliers to undo it all the way also, and this one has to be kind of bent in there at a awkward angle because the swing motor is in the way, or swing assembly. And we tried for a little bit fighting it, and came to the conclusion that it's way too far in there. It should be an adapter getting it further out, but so decided to undo more things and see what was up really, and see if it was a way to solve it with what we had. But and to get all the things out, we had to remove a little further. It's a T connection at the bottom here. I'm not sure what everything does really, but it works, and I tried to put things back where they belong. Here the hoses had to be undone a little for that adapter from a big connection to a small to be allowed to spin. So remove the things that were in the way, and then the angle, 90-degree angle here, could be removed. We sat down and discussed a little if things could be moved around and be possible to get it to work with what we have had at hand, and came to the conclusion that no, it will not be possible. And we had also broken apart a thing where there is like a cross section. It's like a triangle on the seal, ED seals, maybe ED. Or some might call it WD. They might come with different names, but a little more on that later. Did a test putting the hose onto the here I had it in place with one extension from the rear one, because it's kind of double extensions, and came to the conclusion that should be good to have extensions on both. Then we tried putting that just adapter in place, and then tried tightening up the 90-degree angle after we had attached the hose, and that actually worked. It was possible to get the threads to start fine. But since I needed a seal anyway, I decided to get an adapter. Had the carb out again on one of the three-wheelers. It just refused to idle well, and now it started, but I couldn't run it long enough to get it up to heat to adjust the carb, so it needs to come out again and be cleaned up. I'm not sure what's up. Well, back to the harvester. Breaking things apart and fitting that adapter. It was tiny bit shorter than the one that was on there, what I could get hold of, but it should be good enough and help out a lot. It has one of those sealing washers on it. I add a little oil to them before I push them on the threads. Here we have that triangular cross-section seal I talked about, and I found this. I asked where I bought it, what way direction it should be, and he actually was wrong. He said the other way, but I installed it according to what I found online, and let's hope that's correct. So, and they use these on higher pressure applications where you have like a countersunk ring around there. First one, the short, just an adapter and one extension, and this time around it was easy to get the hose into place, and then the rear one with the double extensions. So they went on there nicely. New hose could be fed into place and tightened up. And then I attached the T connection at the bottom, and the hose is connecting to that one. And here I changed the angle a little, because this one has kind of been hanging out below that ridge and outside of that cover for all the hydraulics here. So changing the angle on that made it kind of stay up there. Put some cloth underneath to collect any oil, and then the camera had died on me. but that's not no tricky, just undoing the hose and putting the new one in place. Here the new one is in place, and the other one was nothing hard either, undoing it and putting the new one in place. A couple of straps to hold them tightly. There will be more plastic protection on top of them, but I won't add that for now. It will be added before it actually does any more proper works, but maybe some test usage without them. Did a little bit of cleanup with the oil that I had spilled doing this, and work goes on.